A crazy entitled Karen goes digging through my trash cans in my garage as she claims that I'm the reason there's so many chicken bones out on the street, claiming that if I don't clean up my mess next to my trash cans, then she's gonna call the police and try to have me arrested. And I've honestly never been more confused by anybody in my life. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I live in a nice suburban neighborhood, and I haven't had any issues with anyone until last Thursday. Trash day is on Thursday, and I had my trash cans out the night before. The trash got picked up, and I went out that morning to put them back in my garage. Around an hour later, maybe like 9:30 in the morning, I heard a bunch of noise from my garage. Now mind you, my garage door was open. When I went to see what was going on, I'm greeted by some random lady in my garage messing with my garbage cans. Now before I could even say anything, she immediately turns to me and starts to scream,
"You need to stop throwing your chicken bones out. The dogs are going to get sick from your trash."
Now for reference, I haven't eaten chicken with a bone in it for months, and I certainly didn't have chicken bones or any bones in my trash can. So I ask her why she's in my garage, and that I have no clue what she's talking about, and that I don't have any chicken bones in my trash. But she continues by saying,
"I saw half a dozen chicken bones on the road by your trash cans. You're lying, and I will call the police if you don't stop picking up your trash."
Now at this point, I am reaching my limit. Plus, I'm still hungover because I didn't have to work that day. I told her to get off my property, and that if I caught her going through my stuff again, that I would be the one calling the cops on her. She eventually walked off, screeching about the dogs and stupid lazy millennials. But thankfully, I haven't seen her around my house ever since, but I know she lives right down the street. And I honestly just can't believe that something this stereotypical and insane seriously happened to me. Man, talk about the one time you don't close your garage door, you find some crazy Karen digging through your trash looking for chicken bones. Like, what in the world was she doing? She was acting like this was some dire emergency, digging through your garbage to try and find something that clearly wasn't there. And even like hypothetically speaking, even if there were chicken bones right next to your trash cans, how does that give her any right to step in and be like, okay, I'm gonna go through your garage? And I'm also kind of convinced that she didn't even know which house to go to. Like, she most likely saw the first garage door that was open and thought to herself, yes, now's my chance. I'm gonna finally crack this case for these chicken bones. That is seriously some crazy behavior, and I really think that lady must have been insane, because no rational human being is gonna trespass on your property and then start digging through your trash in some kind of like weird desperate attempt to prove you wrong. That is some crazy talk behavior, and hopefully you don't have to deal with this entitled Karen ever again. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for telling my husband that his gift to his son won't be received the way that he wants it to be? Because right now there is a lot of tension in the house, and at this point I'm not really sure what to do. So my husband and I have been married for 15 years. We have 2 children together, ages 13 and 11. My husband has 2 children from another marriage to his late wife, so my stepkids are 24 and 23, with my stepson being the oldest and my stepdaughter being the youngest. When my husband first found out he was going to be a father, he started a scrapbook for his son and had photos and written memories and little memories added in that he continued throughout the next 25 years. And he did the same thing for his 3 other children as well. This book documents everything, from fun memories to sweet and heartfelt ones, to even some more heartbreaking ones like the passing of his late wife. Well, my husband decided the scrapbook will be his gift to his son for his 25th birthday. He included all sorts of family photos and moments in this scrapbook, including since we got married and had our kids. But both of my stepkids have been pretty clear that they do not have a fondness for me or for their half-siblings, and they have no trace of us in their homes. When he moved out, he left behind photos he was in that included me and my children. And when my husband mentioned he had forgotten some photos, my stepson replied that he had double and triple checked and he had everything he wanted. My stepdaughter was a little bit more clear, and she actually tossed any unwanted photos in the trash before she moved out. On their social media, they post family photos, but funnily enough, they never have me or their half-siblings included. They never even acknowledge us online at all. My stepkids both also said they'd like it if their dad didn't bring us up, because if he's visiting, they'd like to see him and only him. My husband, by the way, just brushed off that comment and said that he could stop by on his own too, but they would never see the rest of us if we didn't visit. Now, I'll say right here that I was not an affair partner, nor did I ever expect the kids to forget about their mom or replace her with me, nor did I expect my husband to. I did not push myself on them. The kids never spoke out against us getting married or brought any issues to me or my husband about us. And trust me, we did talk to them. It really only became apparent after they became adults. So when my husband brought up that he was going to gift the scrapbook to his son for his 25th birthday, I straight up asked him if he was sure. And he was like, why not? His son would love it, and he couldn't wait for us to all go through it together. But I told him that I wasn't so sure he'd love all of it, especially given his refusal to have photos of me or the kids in his home. He told me that it's not like he could just remove them, but I just didn't comment on that. He then asked me what I expected, and then asked if I thought he'd rip those pages out or something. And you know what? I said yes. He asked why I was being so negative, and I told him that given the last several years, I really don't think the gift would be received the way he's expecting. Well, my husband told me my negativity was too much, and he was unhappy with me thinking of his kids like that. So truly, am I the jerk in this scenario? Because seriously, I'm not sure what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think if anything, your husband is completely out of his mind, and I think he's really in denial. Like, this guy is willfully ignoring basically all the evidence in front of him that pretty much spell out that his kids definitely do not like the original poster. They very clearly have animosity towards her and the other kids that are being raised in the house. Now, I've never experienced my mom passing away and having another woman step into the family and taking on the role as like a stepmom. I don't know what it's like to go through that, so honestly, I can't comment on that. But I can say that I've seen other people go through a similar situation, and they've been able to have a fantastic relationship with their step-parent. So with all things considered, especially with the fact that the original poster was not pushy on these kids, and they really didn't do anything perceivably wrong to the kids, in my opinion, there's really no good reason for anyone to be acting this way. Especially towards the kids, mind you, like they didn't do anything wrong. Like, I can never understand taking it out on children all because you're upset that your dad remarried. So no, you are not the jerk. Your husband is denying all these issues that are going on, and he's just completely ignoring all the comments that his kids are making, because clearly they're causing a lot of animosity. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like this is the original poster's fault in the slightest. My entitled boss blames me for her forgetfulness and tries to embarrass me in front of everybody by shifting the blame of her screw-up onto my shoulders. So I decided to maliciously comply by annoying her non-stop in the funniest way I possibly could think of. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I'm a traveling healthcare worker, and my current contract is for 2 hospitals about 30 minutes away from each other. When I applied for this contract, there was no mention on the posting of working at 2 hospitals, but the manager mentioned during my interview that I would occasionally have to work at a sister hospital as well. I agreed that was fine, and when setting up my living arrangements, I made sure I was closest to the hospital I was told I would be at most of the time. Well, my start date rolls around, and she's just completely flipped things. I'm now at the sister hospital the vast majority of the time, and almost never at the hospital that is close to me. To make things even better, I don't have badge access or computer access at the sister hospital, and construction has closed down the road that I was initially taking to get to the sister hospital, making my commute over an hour long each way, which is more than triple what it would be at the closer hospital. Now, I've brought up these concerns via text message, email, over the phone, and in person, and it's gone straight to my manager multiple times, and she's assured me that she will fix the technological problems as soon as possible, but then I never hear back from her. When the next schedule came out, she has me exclusively at the sister hospital, so I email her to ask her if she could adjust it because of the above troubles, but she just ignores my email until she comes into my work to tell me that there's no schedule changes that will be happening. She then starts chewing me out in front of multiple coworkers for never coming to her about my technological problems. Well, since then, I have started texting her every single day as soon as she gets to work, asking if she has any updates on my access problems. And every single day, she texts me an excuse as to why she forgot and why it hasn't been solved yet. Every time I see her in person, I make sure to bring up that she told me that she would be fixing things. And then I ask if she has an update in front of as many coworkers as possible. And I do this so she can say in front of everybody that she's apparently been extremely forgetful. Now, with all things considered, it honestly feels good to annoy her every single day with daily text messages, as well as constantly pestering her after she tried to embarrass me in front of my coworkers. I think the part of this story that really upsets me the most is the fact that the manager tried to embarrass the original poster in front of all of their coworkers, especially because this was literally all of the manager's fault. Like, is she seriously trying to sit there and be like, wow, this this is your fault for not communicating this. But like, you've been texting and emailing and talking to her constantly about it. So for her to turn around and try to blame this on you is insane to me. I mean, you even set up your living arrangements so you would be close to the hospital that she said you would be close to. So honestly, I think the way you're going about this is truly the best way to handle it, because the way you're being treated is completely unprofessional, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. An entitled Karen moving into my house demands that I let her move in early, or else she's not going to show up to the closing date. And after dealing with her trespassing on my property as well as vandalizing my property, all before she even legally owned the house I was trying to sell to her, I finally hit my wit's end, telling her straight up that if she didn't show up to the closing date for the house, then I would be suing her in court. Here's what happened. So when I married my first husband, we bought a house built in 1960 with its original aluminum shingled roof, and the roof did look bad, but it was in good shape as long as you kept the leaves off of it. After we got divorced, I kept the house and I lived there until I moved in with my now husband. I kept the house empty for a couple of years, checking on it regularly just in case things didn't work out. During that time, I didn't clean the roof off, and the leaves built up and caused a leak. Now this was immediately repaired, and it convinced me that it was time to sell the house. I listed the house for just what I needed to pay off the mortgage, and then I waited. In 3 months' time, I didn't get any serious offers, just investors that tried to lowball me. My realtor was getting really restless when I finally got an offer that wasn't terrible. We started negotiations, and she immediately made it known that she was in the Air Force Reserves, and she was retired. Now, my parents were in the Air Force, so this isn't something that I really care about. She was not going to get any special treatment just because of that. Now, for reference, I'm used to people that use their military experience just to get stuff. She was getting a VA loan, and at the time, that meant stricter requirements for inspections. She kept trying to get me to lower the price, and finally used the roof leak against me. She claimed the roof needed to be replaced, and found a roofer who was willing to back her up on it. And at this point, it kind of forced my hand. So I agreed to pay half the expected replacement cost, but she didn't want that paid to the roofer. Instead, she wanted it paid directly to her. It was clearly an excuse to get the price lowered, and it really pissed me off, but there wasn't much I could do because I really needed to sell the house. We finally agreed, and the house was put under contract, with a closing date set for a month away. The inspection started, and after the first one, she asked for a few minor things to be fixed, which I did. Then we had the second inspection for the VA loan, and this was about 3 weeks away from closing. I went by the house the day after, and as I pulled into the driveway, I found a package addressed to her in the mailbox, and a metal shelf and outdoor swing sitting in the driveway. Now, I'm not happy, but I'm more confused than anything. I then went into the house. The house is a tri-level, with the basement being just 5 steps from the kitchen. The basement had been redone to be a primary bedroom prior to me buying it, but I only used it as a family and media room. Well, the first thing I noticed was the basement. She had completely rearranged it. There was IKEA wardrobe and closet things that she had pulled from the wall and ripped apart everything and just started flipping them around. She had moved a mattress from the upstairs into the basement, and the floor was damaged while they moved things around. I mean, the furniture was just completely rearranged. Then I went upstairs to the bedrooms, and I found cans of paint and packages of curtains in all the upstairs rooms. Like, these are not my things, and I'm very angry. I mean, the house isn't even hers yet. She shouldn't be leaving things there or rearranging anything. I called my realtor, who called her realtor, who then got in contact with her. It was relayed to me that she had dropped some things off outside, but she insisted that she was never in the house. But it's an obvious lie to cover the trespassing. I then went outside and found a circular burn in the grass, after which I found a burned paint stick inside the house. So there you go, we now have vandalism on the board. In an effort to appease me, the buyer agreed to move up the closing date. It was supposed to be within a week, but that ended up not happening, and we only closed 3 days early on a Monday instead of Wednesday. Other than the delays, nothing else happens until just before the closing date. On the Friday before, my realtor called me and said the buyer wanted to move in over that weekend instead of waiting for closing because she's military and she doesn't get many days off and wouldn't be able to move in until that next weekend. But you know what? That wasn't my problem. So I immediately said no, that's not happening. The realtor called again later, saying that she's really pushing the military thing. She really wants to move in early and would be willing to do a lease agreement. And I again say absolutely not. Well, I get another call saying that the buyer was now calling anyone and everyone involved with the sale, namely the loan officers, insurance company, the realtor broker, the commanding officers, just to try and find anyone that can force me to let her move in early. And now she she was saying that she was not going to show up for closing if I did not let her move in. I asked what would happen if she didn't show up and was told that she would still have to pay the commissions for both realtors, and since there was a contract, I could take her to court and force her to complete the sale. So I again said that she was not moving in early, and I told my realtor that she could convey anything of what I was about to say to the buyer. I told her that I didn't press charges for trespassing and vandalism because of the contract, but if she fails to show up for closing, I would not only pursue all my legal rights regarding the contract, but I would also be contacting police about pressing criminal charges. Now, I don't know how much of that was relayed, but I got a call a few minutes later that she would be showing up to closing, but she wanted to sign her papers in a separate room. The closing went off without a hitch, and I'm honestly so glad to be rid of that house. Wow, the buyer of your house was being incredibly obnoxious. Like seriously, the way they were acting was just so insane. They were trespassing in your house before you even moved into it, and they straight up vandalized the walls and the floor all before they even moved in. Like if I was in your shoes, I would be furious as well. This kind of behavior is just not okay. So honestly, good for you for putting this lady in her place, because the way she was acting was absolutely ridiculous. Am I the jerk for telling my wife to never volunteer me to help out her family ever again after she bails on helping her brother and his girlfriend move to another apartment, leaving me to do it all by myself for the next 8 hours? Because right now I'm very upset, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. My wife and I have been married for 8 years, and we have a 4-year-old son together. My wife's younger brother, who we will call Joe, as well as his girlfriend, are moving into an apartment together at the beginning of June, but his girlfriend's lease is up at the end of April, so she needed to move out of her place. But Joe currently lives in a studio apartment, so he doesn't have room for all her stuff. So they were going to move all of his girlfriend's stuff into a storage unit for a month, all the way up until they can get a new place together. A little over a month ago, Joe had asked my wife if we would be able to help move his girlfriend's stuff, and she agreed. My mother-in-law was supposed to watch our son so we both could help out, but she got sick and had to cancel. My wife suggested trying to get a babysitter for that day, but I didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a babysitter to help somebody move. I mean, that's just dumb and it doesn't make any sense. And bringing a 4-year-old with us would not be helpful to anyone. Well, this turned into an argument between us, because she said I should help them move while she watches our son, since I'm stronger than she is, and I know how to drive our truck with a trailer. Then, on Saturday, which is the morning of the move, my wife told me that a friend of hers got sweet tickets through work to a hockey game for that day, and they had invited them. And yes, these are sweet tickets to a playoff hockey game. She said she would be bringing our son, since her friend was bringing her kids too. So this is great. Not only do I get stuck helping somebody else move, but my wife and son get to go have an amazing experience together that I'm just gonna miss out on. And yes, this was my son's first major sporting event, and I was going to be completely missing it. And wouldn't you know it, but Joe never got a U-Haul, and his girlfriend was not even close to being packed up and ready when I got there. I spent 7 to 8 hours and multiple trips back and forth helping them move. All the while, my wife is sending pictures to our family group chat of how much fun they're having at this hockey game. When everyone was home that night, my wife was surprised that I wasn't in a good mood. She said that I acted like I barely cared when our son was telling us about the hockey game and how much fun it was. So I asked her if she was really confused about why I was upset, and she told me to go ahead and tell her. So I just started railing off all the reasons why I was so upset. She volunteered me to help. She got to spend the day doing something very special with our son that I missed out on. Her brother and his girlfriend were not prepared, and I had spent the entire day doing manual labor. I ended my little rant by telling her that she is never going to volunteer me to help her family ever again. Well, she told me I was overreacting and that I can't hold it against her that her friend invited them to the game. She also said that I'm not being fair by blaming Joe and his girlfriend. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I'm still very upset and I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. If I was in your shoes and this all happened to me, I would be super upset. Here's the thing, in my opinion, there's one main rule of helping somebody move. You need to have all your stuff ready when people arrive to help out. If I roll up at your house and you don't have a U-Haul and your girlfriend and you have not packed anything, I might just turn around and leave. Like, that is so disrespectful of this guy's time, and it is completely unfair to put him in that kind of position. And worst of all, this wasn't like a 1 to 2 hour kind of thing. You were literally there for 8 hours. Like, after hour 5, I would have lost my mind and been like, I'm sorry, you gotta find someone else to help out. Because I've been in that position where you're like, okay, let's get this stuff moved, and the people people you're trying to help don't have anything together, they have not got anything planned out, and then they just sit there and say, okay, we gotta get this done. Like, that sounds like a nightmare, and I seriously would not be okay with that either. But also, more to the point, the fact that your wife is like, don't hold this against me, what are you doing? My friend invited us to that, you can't be mad about that. Like, no, I'm sorry, I absolutely can be angry about that. And it's not even about her friend inviting them to the game. You got volunteered to do something against your will and was basically strong-armed into doing this stupid favor. Meanwhile, she's off having a great time. Like, talk about getting baited into volunteering for something just for the person who volunteered you to back out and then go to a hockey game. Like, seriously, how obnoxious is that? And while you're sweating over moving these stupid boxes, your wife is sending like a stream of pictures of her and her son having a great time at this hockey game. Like, that would get on my last nerve so quickly. It's like she had this blatant disregard for your time and energy. So seriously, you are definitely not the jerk. I think everybody else involved is very inconsiderate, and if I was in your shoes, I would be very upset as well. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.